What's up, everybody? Ben is here for Stokastic. It is time. Players Championship. We're going to break it all down. We're going to look at the field. We're going to look at the course. We're going to try to decipher how do we go about finding all the potential optimal plays in water, in sawgrass, in the island green, the pricing, the leverage. We've got the tools to help us, and we're ready to dive in. One of the best tournaments of the year, and that is why I couldn't be more excited to have some fun breaking this down on a Wednesday morning. First of all, if you're new to Stokastic, you just found us, maybe you're getting into the DFS streets, you haven't used the site before, welcome. All things DFS right here on this very channel, using tools and data to make us money. Simple as that. I'm going to talk about some really exciting deals in this video right for PGA, but let's set the stage. Let's get into it. We are talking about Sawgrass. Obviously, this tournament, the players, I'm not going to run down a ton of it. You guys know the drill. We play here every year. There's a ton of water basically on every hole. There's the famous island green on 17. A lot of variance at this course. What do we need to know? I think the main things we're in Florida naturally. Got some Bermuda conditions. Par 72. Got to take advantage of these par fives. It's not a long course, so you don't need to be driver heavy or anything like that. Those are the basic things. Obviously, irons are going to go a long way, not just short irons, but long irons, depending on how aggressive you are off the tee. Weather, it could be dicey. I'm trying to hit all the high points before we dive into the board itself. Stack some AM, PM, some PM, AM. I think if you're building a lot of teams, that's a prudent move. But a lot of the weather looks to be weekend centric. That's a long way away. That's really hard to play for and plan for. You don't know when your guys are going out. Could they use split tees? All sorts of scenarios. So for me, I'm not going to get crazy outside my traditional tee time stacks and things like that. I don't think every team needs that. I think you just really want to look at some potential and plan for, okay, it's going to play crazy hard, crazy difficult on a few things. Greens are going to be fast. The rough is going to be long. You guys know the drill. All right. So we've talked about all that. Scheffler kicks us off. He's the defending champion twice over, going for the three-peat, which is just stupid on a course that's supposed to be high variance. So one of the things that I think is really important to point out is we are talking about dynamic pricing. And what do I mean by that? I kind of just made up that term, but we are in the 12K ceiling and the 6K floor. You can see that Scheffler is sitting at 12.8. When I scroll down, and I can do that right now for you, you're going to see there's a bajillion players in the fives. So we have the option to do things that we wouldn't normally do. So if you punt a couple spots, you can take multiple guys at the very, very top. And that is something that is really important. But let's start talking about players. Now, first things first, I'm in the data hub right here on Stokastic. I do want to mention that these things are going to update. Ownership and things like that, we set a framework and then we hone in as we get closer and closer to lock. So keep that in mind. But it's no surprise that Scheffler is overwhelmingly looking like one of the most popular players. He's projected for the highest raw points, the optimal percentage, everything checks out. I don't have a lot to say on Scheffler. I'll say this. His irons have not been as strong as they were in the past. He gained just 0.6 of a stroke at API. He lost 5 strokes putting, which is really what did it. Off the tee was ridiculously good. But his irons, when he was really, really, really nuking, were carrying the way, and he hasn't had that lately. So if you want to ride that narrative, you might want to short him. And you have options. If you don't play him, of course, you're going to save $1,300 minimum and shave off a ton of ownership. Now, if you're playing a large field, not a large field, you're playing a portfolio of lineups, I think it's pretty prudent, clearly, to have Scheffler in the pool. Is he my favorite play? Definitely not. Will I have some exposure? Definitely. And you've got Rory, who's doing Rory-like things. He's playing well, kind of melted a little at API. Similar, we know that off the tee typically is his strong suit. He wasn't great at API there. He's been putting well, though. He gained 4 strokes putting there at Bay Hill. He won just a couple weeks ago at the AT&T. So we know it's there for Rory. He's another clear starting point. Xander, I'd say, will be the lowest owned of the 3 guys that we just talked about. The injuries coming back, little rusty. He's 25-1 in the betting markets. That's a far cry from where these other guys were. His short game was terrible at API. He lost 5 strokes around the green. Some of that's going to be noisy. I think Xander is kind of the third option of the three for me. If I don't pay up for Rory or Scheffler, now it gets very serious because for the 10K range, definitely going to have some lineups that have two of these guys, maybe even three if you punt. Morikawa could have, should have won last week. Ludwig, he might be my pick to win this week. I really like the spot for him. JT also could weasel into the guy if you made me pick one guy to win this that I think has a real shot. He lost 5 strokes putting last week. He's been playing really good. The irons are consistent. He's gained in every event in 2025 with them. Certainly, we know that he can handle the players. He's got one of those in the trophy case already back 4 or 5 years ago. He makes a lot of sense. And then Cantlay. I don't know what to do with Cantlay, I'll be honest. He grades out pretty neutral. 31st at API, 5th at Genesis. He was 5th at Amex. Putter's been hit and miss. Irons have been good. I like the play. I'm not going to fault the play. But if I'm ranking the 10s, it's going to be Abear, JT, Morikawa, and then Cantlay. You got to put somebody last. As you can see, the optimal percentages, the projected fantasy points, things like that, we'll see. And then the ownership, Cantlay is expected to be a little lower owned, and I agree with that. Busting down the 9K range now, Decky, Fleetwood, Sunjay, Berger, Russell Henley from last week, Wyndham Clark, Sam Burns, Tony Finau, Shane Lowry, and Victor Hovland. So you look at this. We'll start at the top. I mean, why not? Decky, he didn't play great at API, but it's one event. He was 22nd. His around the green game is world class. It's one of the best in the world. Now, he's lost strokes putting in 4 of 5. He has lost off the tee in 4 of 5, and he has lost with his irons in 3 of 4. You look at that, and you would think, my God, this guy's got to be a disaster. And it hasn't been great, but 48th, 25th, 13th, and 22nd. Despite all of that, there's a lot of small losses in there. It's not glaring issues. The putter's probably the most concerning thing. He needs to find that. But he's another player. You look, he was 6th at the Players last year, 5th in 2023, 8th in 2019. He was doing crazy things before they canceled it in 2020. Decky makes sense. I prefer probably paying up to the 10K guys. And then we've got Fleetwood, who also makes a lot of sense. He's just really priced premium. So I'm not saying I'm going away from it. 5th at Genesis, 11th at API. He does everything but win for you. You're just getting a price tag where when you don't, and I'm not saying he can't win. I believe he can win. But if you give a quality result at 9,800, that's kind of what's par for the course. You need to do that. This is not just make a cut and give me 72 holes. These are expensive tags. And some of the guys in this range, I think, are getting that price bump. Daniel Berger would be another one. 2nd at Waste Management, 12th at Genesis, 25th and 15th during the Florida swing. He's gained putting. He's gained off the tee. I like the spot for him. I just don't love 9,600. That is a lofty tag. So keep that in mind when you're building. Now, there's a ton of value that you can look to. And that does make it easier. But you do have to pay the tax on some of these guys. And then you have Russell Henley, who won last week. Gained across the board. He's gained across the board in both Florida events, which is very impressive. A 6th and a 1st. He's clearly playing really good golf. You're also clearly paying some of that. He's $9,500. And that is, again, a pretty lofty tag. Let's see what we have him. It's early. We have him, around 20% ownership. And some of the guys around him, not nearly going to be in that range. Wyndham Clark, Sam Burns, probably more tournament plays for me. Sam Burns, we know Bermuda splits. Hasn't been playing great. I like Finau. I do at 92. I think this is a pretty good course for him. He made a snowman on Sunday at Arnold Palmer, which he finished in 36, but it could have been a whole lot better. And some of his strokes gain numbers are reflected in that. Before that, he had gotten some good reps at AT&T and Genesis. He came in 5th there. The around the green game was good. And, typically I'm worried about his Bermuda splits because he's not a good Bermuda putter at all. But the players, he has gained strokes putting 5 of the last 6 years here. That's pretty encouraging for a guy like Tony Finau. So I do weigh that a little bit. I know it's not the end-all, be-all, but I think Finau does set up pretty well. Guy like Shane Lowry, he was in the thick of it last week. If you think it's going to be really windy, particularly on the weekend, maybe nasty, he gets a slight bump for that. He's built for those conditions. And then Hovland. Hovland is an interesting guy to discuss. He has dropped to like 80-1 in the outright markets. Miscut at Genesis, miscut at the Arnold Palmer. He has lost strokes around the green in 5 straight. He has lost strokes putting in 4 straight, including 6 strokes lost at API. You can blindly back talent, or you can short what is just not good recent form for 9K. I am more towards I'm shorting just because there are so many other pivots. It's not like he's in a range where I don't like other players. I like Finau. I certainly see the case for a guy like Straka, Pendrith, Zalatoris is right there. And then I would love to pay up for Berger, Fleetwood, JT, Abear. We already talked about a lot of these guys. I'm not sure I'm going to have a ton of room for Hovland outside of dart throw here or there. So to put a bow on the 9K range, I think that for me, the priorities are going to be Fleetwood, Finau, Decky and Sanjay are guys I'm indifferent to. Wyndham Clark is a tournament type play, going to be lower owned than most. Maverick, not really for me at 89. Spieth, I don't know. What are we doing with Spieth? What is this guy up to? He's resting last week. Couldn't get in. He was 9th at Cognizant. Gained 5 strokes putting off the tee. Fine with the play. I never personally thought this was the world's best course for him, or just in general. I don't really love him during the Florida swing. It's just not what I think of him at. And his history at the Players has been certainly hit and miss, and more miss than anything else. He's got 6 missed cuts in about a decade. So little buyer beware there. Again, I don't think he's going to be super popular right now. We'll see how that ownership progresses as the week goes on. Straka's playing fantastic golf. No doubt about that. I want to talk about Pendrith at 84. Let's dig into some of these numbers and see what we can find. And then I'm going to tell you, by the way, what we've got going on here at Stokastic. Don't think I know I teased that. I haven't forgot about it. So Pendrith, you look and it's like, oh man, what happened? 50th miscut and miscut. The guy lost an impossible amount of strokes around the green and putting in the last 3 events. Genesis, he lost 8 strokes around the green and putting combined. API, he lost 9. That is crazy. And even at the Cognizant, 4. That's just too many. Now, does that mean he automatically fixes it? Definitely not. But it does give us a ton of room for improvement. His ball striking is fine. His off the tee game is strong. I actually think this is a fine buy low spot. I wish he was in the 7s, to be completely honest, but I'm still okay with Pendrith there. Jason Day played well. Benny On, I like the setup. Bet him to be the top Asian at plus 800. I think that's an interesting number. If his putter cooperates, the irons finally flipped last week. That's a good spot for him. The AK is a little thin. There's not as many players as you would think. So we don't really have that many choices. It's not a range I'll be totally into, but there are still some pretty good plays. Now, what else do we have to get to? Well, we've got about 100 players left. So I just want to again mention I'm on the Data Hub, and this is all part of the tools here at Stokastic. It's not just the Data Hub, the contest sims, where you can literally sim out the tournament. Powerful stuff. The single lineup simulator, which I literally was just building lineups before the show. I have one up. It's missing a player, as you can see. I'll show you this right now, actually. We're pulling a pivot in the middle of the show. So listen up, because I'm going to show you how to get all of this for a really good deal. You build these lineups. You set your parameters, by the way, contest size, percent to first, things like that. You press run sim lineup, and check this out. It will actually sim it out for you and show you what the projected ROI is. You can make tweaks, things like that, and you know if you're on the right track. Again, you want to match it to your pool size, percent to first. This is the type of stuff. Okay, you see win percentage, top 10, cash percentage, simulated ROI. So we want to tweak a couple things. This is how it is done, man. I'm telling you. If you have not checked these out, I'm running, just because, again, it's the Players. I had to do something cool. I don't get to do this video all the time. I'm running a flash sale. It's just for this video. So if you're watching this, listen up right now. Take a look at the screen, actually. Look at Scheffler holding that beautiful trophy. 50% off any PGA DF package. The code is CHIP, like chip in. Chipping on the greens. Here we go. What does that mean? Well, it's very, very simple. 50% off any weekly or monthly package. And I'll show you those packages really briefly right here. You have them right here. So you can go essentials if you're just looking for a couple things. The light package, that's going to give you the single lineup simulator, ownership, all that good stuff. And then if you're saying, you know what, I'm playing a lot of lineups, I want to make it worth it. Obviously, sim up the contest generator, pre-contest sim. And if you want 10,000 lineups to sim, that's your max. That's obviously the heavy hitter. If you're playing big volume, obviously worth it, no doubt about it. But we have something for everybody. And here, you're cutting these prices in half. If you do the monthly, obviously, you get a full month. That's multiple tournaments leading you right up to Augusta, right through it. Again, we don't run these often. I say it confident. I use these tools every single week to make my lineups. The code is Chip. It's right there. The link in the description. Click that link, use that code, pick your package, and you're in business. Now, let's get back to the plays, my friends. Here we go. 7K range. Let's get to the data hub. Corey Connors played well last week. Adam Scott, Detry, Davis Thompson. I didn't skip him. Don't worry. Keegan, who shot about 50 under on Sunday. Denny McPutts, Brian Harmon, Cam Young, Fitzy. Noren's not playing, even though I love him. He's hurt. So, who do we want to go? This is where skill sets start to come into play. This is where leverage starts to come into play. This is where ownership starts. I mean, not that it doesn't come into play, but some of these guys are not going to be popular at all. Corey Connors, I think, is going to be popular. I think he grades out very well as well. Could be a cash viable type play. Consistent. He can gain off the tee. Doesn't need to be a heavy hitter here. Keegan, coming off that Sunday, I do think will also garner some ownership. If I had to, I'd rather play Denny McCarthy. I played him last week, and I didn't have a perfect week because Morikawa melted. But Denny McCarthy did his job, particularly on Sunday. He played pretty well. He came in 18th. He gained 7 strokes putting, which seems outrageous. That's what Denny McCarthy does. He gains 7 strokes putting at times. He was terrible around the green, but he bailed himself out with the putter. He's got to flip off the tee because if you miss here, you're in the water on some holes. That's just not going to work. But I think that he's a fine play in the upper to mid 7s. If you want to go with a different skill set, you've got a guy like Cam Young there. I get that. Thigala as well. I want to talk about Nick Taylor. He's 7,300. He doesn't project for a lot of ownership. Right now, we have him just under 5%. We'll see where that goes as we get closer to lock. But this is a guy that has been playing some quiet golf, but quality golf with the irons. He has played in 7 events in 2025. He has gained strokes on the approach in all 7. He's gained 4 or more strokes on the approach in 5 of 7. That is nasty business, man. Obviously, he won at Sony, but other than that, he still followed up with some respectable numbers. 31st at API quietly. This is a guy that's in the pool for me. I just like the setup here for Sawgrass. Again, you don't need length off the tee. You can get around just fine. Bez, 71. Off the tee, dangerously insane. Not in a good way, but his around the green game is super crafty. He can absolutely be a part of that. He'll be in my skill set stacks of really good scramblers, really crafty putters, things like that, weak off the tee players. Maybe it plays to that. Maybe it doesn't. These are the things that we have to decipher. Busting down the wall of the 7s, Bhatia talent, no doubt about it, but there's so many golfers still. Good ones, too. 6K range, JT Poston, Kitayama, Glover, JJ Spawn. Mentioned him in a tweet last night. And by the way, you can always follow me at JazzRazBets right on the screen. Look at that. Let's talk about JJ Spawn. You know what he's been doing? Well, he's been taking iron play to the next level. He grades out fantastically. If you're looking at strokes gained approach, also has gained positively in every single event, including API 5.2, Genesis 4.8. He gained 8 strokes on the approach at Sony. The guy is dialed in tee to green. It's the short game that lets him down. But if you're hitting it really close, how often do you have to scramble? Now, he's had 0 success at the Players. Has he been in form? Has he been playing this well previously? I'd say no. But that's the balance that we have to take. Recent form versus pedigree, course fit, things of that nature. Right below him, Ricky. Former winner about a decade ago. He's been playing a little better. Ricky's in the pool for me. I don't think he's going to garner ownership. Right now, we have him with 2% ownership. I don't know if it'll be that low, but he's not going to be popular. And this is where it thins out. You're going to have some guys here that I don't think grade out well at all. You see the obviously projected fantasy points pretty low for some of these guys. Justin Rose is going to be a name people are going to look to. I'm not saying I'm completely against it, but I will say that Justin Rose, if he didn't play well last week, would have like no ownership in this spot. And he's certainly going to have some based off that. He came in 8th at Arnold Palmer. He did it all with the irons and the putting, which is not a bad combo. You can replicate that to great success. He gained 4 with the approach and 5 with the putter. He's not going to care about tough conditions. He'll be ready to go, and he is in a reasonable price range. But I do think there are some pivots around there if you want to go that route. You've got a guy like Tom Hoagie who has lost it a little bit, but at the same time, he's got some skills when he gets hot if you think it plays easy. Lord Cantor's coming over. Paul Hostler, Pavon, but this is the guy we have to talk about. You could see it right here. Like I said, the ownership's going to continue to mature. Michael Kim is going to be, I don't have these numbers, I'm just making this up, but the most popular 5K player ever in the history of DFS, because we don't see the 5Ks a lot, and you never see chalk down here, and he is going to be chalk. He should be in your cash lineup, there's no doubt. For tournaments, you have a very interesting situation. Michael Kim is playing just unbelievably good golf. He has come 2nd, 13th, 13th, 6th, and 4th. He has gained in every category in those 5 events. I mean, I don't know. That's insane. Every category. He has no weakness to his game right now. He's positive strokes gained, putting around the green, approach, and off the tee in every event of the last 5. You can't be playing any better. But he's going to be crazy popular at a high variance course. And he is Michael Kim. No disrespect, but he's had some big ebbs and flows. It wasn't that long ago. I mean, in 2024, to close the year, he missed 6 straight cuts, at one point. And then he found something in swing season, and now he's just been off to the races. So another guy that I think it's kind of crazy to full fade him, but I have a feeling I come in a little underweight, particularly in single entry or things like that, where I think he could be 30, 35% owned, just because that's too popular for me. Can't knock the play. He's playing great golf, but I can knock that ownership. Especially when you have guys like Jake Knapp, who's playing pretty good. Rasmus has shown some signs right there. His brother, Nikolai, right there, really, really scorching with the irons. These are good players, and they're in the same range. I'm pretty confident that we can pivot for 1/5, 1/8 the ownership on some of these plays and not sacrifice a ton. Doug Gim, the Gim Reaper, as people call him, 5,600. We know he at times is a big game hunter, particularly at Sawgrass. We just saw that. Let me see where that was. It was only a couple of years ago, I believe. Even last year. Yeah, he was 6th in 2022, 16th in 2024 here. The guy can play. We know it's not a talent issue with Doug Gim. And even though we're in the mid-5s, look at all these options that we have. We still have plenty of quality players down here. Maybe guys not in the best form, but, Chris Kirk, Taylor Moore. Phillips just won in Puerto Rico. Seamus. You want a sleeper? Seamus Power this week, 5,500. Again, aggressive dart throw, no doubt about it. But let me talk to you a little about Seamus on the way out here. 5,500. He's made the cut in 3 of 4 at the Players. He has lost strokes putting in 5 straight, which I don't like to see, but that masks what was really good iron play. 4 straight positive with the irons. He's made cuts in 3 of 4. He's 5,500 and he's not going to be popular. This is the type of player I look to round out some lineups if you're playing in the millie. If you're trying to build some things, again, I'm looking at the single lineup simulator. That's the type of guy I might swap out a Doug Gim for. You slide him in here and we'll see how it grades out. I'm going to spin the wheel right now. I'm actually kind of interested to see. And I would adjust this to make the contest size larger, no doubt, because I'm thinking more milli for something like this. But who knows? Again, you do this and you can play around, whether you're crunching it, running the sims in full, or you're doing this. And then it's like, okay, well, let's see what we can tweak as well. And you get it to a spot you feel comfortable with, matches your lineups, and you're in business. There are more players, but honestly, I think you want to find a reason to go down here. You don't need to. And there's just a lot of names. Matty Schmid is a big-time hitter. Hayden Springer's had some signs. Rico's a big-time hitter. EVR off the tee can be strong. I mean, Toasty's a wild man. I don't know if you want to do that. My man Griot's at 51. I don't know if you want to do that either. Joel Dahman, he deserves some recognition. 5,100 is a bad price for him. He's playing better than that. His irons are far and away the best down here. That's not even up for debate. The guy's gained 4.8 in Mexico and 5.8 at the Cognizant. Putting comes and goes, but he's making cuts. He was 9th at Farmers, 6th in Mexico. 5,100 is a bad price tag. Now, we're not the only people who can decipher this. His ownership for down here is going to be pretty popular. I could see him creeping between 5 and 10%. So it's just something to keep an eye on. And let's just get these guys on the screen. Tiger, get well soon, my man. I'm not going to play any of these guys. I don't see the need. There's just no reason. I don't need 5K players in my pool. Not to say they can't play well, but it is to say it just is an unnecessary risk for me. So we just went up and down. And again, I think the important thing, what I do in these tournaments is I separate guys into buckets. Pivots, solid plays, leverage targets, and then I start building them out for me via the single lineup sim. Obviously, I'm going to run the sims all together, the pre-contest sim, all of this stuff. Again, this is powerful, powerful tools. And if you're looking for them, come on in with the code CHIP. It's only available today. It's a flash sale. So we don't offer 50% off our packages too often, honestly, because, realistically, they're really powerful. But this is for any weekly or monthly package for PGA. So if you haven't played PGA or you're thinking about getting back into it, try it out for 50% off and hopefully you stick around. Hopefully you make some money. You say, man, this is the process I want for the rest of the season. That is what a lot of people have. The testimonials don't lie. Come and find the tools that work for you. Come and find the package that works for you. Link below. Use the code CHIP and you're in business. Now, as portfolio EV is on my screen, I won't talk about that, but I will say OddsShopper.com. Always there if you want to make some bets. Serious power over there as well. But I think we're in pretty good shape here. Again, keep an eye on that weather. If you're looking for updates, I'm actually going to be doing a Spaces tonight, Jazz Raz Bets. So come check that out. Listen, we'll have updates on not just what we think here, but who we're betting, what other things we think are going to factor in, because things change rapidly in the PGA world. But with a tournament like this, there are so many ways to go, so many lineups to make, and I can't wait to see it play out. It's just a blast to see the players in action, and hopefully one of the users, I want to see some logos at the top, friends. Let's see a Stokastic family member take it down, make some money, and when you do, make sure you tweet us, because a lot of money up top, Millie up for grabs this week. On that note, friends, I'm going to bounce on out of here, but if you have any questions, again, my Twitter handle is there. I'm happy to answer. Hopefully, you have a little better framework of how I'm approaching it this week and my thoughts on some of these players. And on that note, good luck. Enjoy the tournament. Talk to you guys soon.